All right. What's up, friends? Welcome. It is a Friday, and we have a fun interview for you on a Friday. Actually, I haven't done very many of these interviews on Fridays. I don't know for whatever reason, but excited for this one today. So we're going to get started. Of course, if you can't watch the whole thing or you're watching here on the recording, you can always check it out on the podcast. But we are going to rock and roll. Welcome back to another episode of NFT365. And, actually, over the last couple episodes of the podcast here, I've been kind of talking about, the early adoption movement that we are kind of experiencing in this space right now. And, for many, they kind of feel like if they're getting in today, they feel like they're getting in late. And we could all argue that actually we're still way early. But like, what does way early really even mean? Or what did like the way early world actually look like? Well, I wasn't around, but I did have a friend who in 2018 was, spent like an hour and a half with me explaining to me why he was moving into crypto and NFTs. And I was like nodding my head and I'm like, dude, you're leaving social media and like marketing and like this space that like we're kind of thriving. Like, what do you do? Like, why are you playing over there with like funny money and these like weird pictures that people are talking about? And well, it took me, 2 years before the light bulb went off. But that is actually who our guest is today, Mr. Joel Comm. Joel, welcome to NFT 365. Excited to have you, my friend. How you doing?
Brother, it is my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I'm doing great.
So we did a little podcast swap, right? So you got to interview me, and now I get to flip the script a little. But I mentioned 2018. We actually were on a panel about blockchain together at an event out in the Midwest of the country, middle of the country. And I remember, Bad Crypto Podcast was what you were leaning in. It's actually where I got my Bad Crypto sticker. And I remember being like, man, I can't see what Joel sees in this space. So, I mean, you've been an early adopter. For those that don't know you, like you've been an early adopter in everything, like literally the internet. Web 1, you were an early adopter. Web 2, you're an early adopter. I might be dating you a little bit on that side, but you've also dabbled in a little bit of everything, and that's kind of where both of us kind of leaned into our futurist side. But talk to the people a little bit about like your early adopter experience, and then what kind of keyed you in to start that original podcast and lean into this space originally.
Yeah, I don't mind being dated. I mean, the gray hairs don't lie, dude. Because it was 1995 when I built my first website. So I actually, before early adopter, we have pioneer. And usually I like to pioneer and get there. But, when everybody says you're insane. And with crypto, I didn't do that. Pioneering crypto would put you around 2010 to 2014, I'd say. And I remember hearing about Bitcoin, but I was confused by the tech and I was absorbed with some personal matters in my life. So it was an interesting toy, but I didn't get it. What do you mean mining Bitcoin on my computer? Are there little men in there with a pickaxe going ding 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 in Bitcoin? I just didn't understand it. And I started going down the rabbit hole more in late 2016. I was having conversations with my buddy Travis Wright, who's a friend of yours as well. And he was asking me what I thought about Bitcoin. And I was like, I don't really get it. But I started digging into it. And it was early 2017 when I finally got pushed over the ledge, when I finally understood it. Bought my first Bitcoin. May 4th, 2017 is when I finally had my Coinbase account approved and was able to make my first purchase. And our conversations, mine between Travis and myself, just continued every day on Facebook Messenger. What do you think of this coin? What do you think of that? Should we buy this? Is this going to be a big deal? And it was July 16th, 2017. He sent me a message, which is a day that will live in infamy, that said, when are we going to start the Joel and TW crypto show, with a winky, smiley, crying face? And the moment he said that, it just hit me. Bam. I said, dude, I'm calling you. And I called him. I said, let's do this. Let's put on a show. I got the name already. We're not financial advisors. We're not pros at what we do. We're not going to give advice. Let's call it the Bad Crypto Podcast, because we're going to tell bad dad jokes. We're going to basically take the conversations that we have, you and me together, and we're going to bring them public. Let's bring people on the journey with us, and they're going to learn from people who are smarter than us that we bring onto the show as we learn. And so 2 days later, this is what happens when you stack skills, and this, we've already been professional broadcasters and podcasters who know how to edit, we know how to create design, we know how to set up a podcast. 2 days later, the site and the first episode were live and distributed. And the rest is history. It just, it came about at right time, right before the bull run of 2017. And here were these two guys who weren't talking high-minded concepts like all the other crypto shows at that time. We were just two dudes talking crypto and a smattering of bad dad jokes, and it really connected with the people who needed to hear. And now here we are with over 10 million downloads later, close to 700 episodes, and a second show about NFTs that we launched. It'll be 2 years in May that the Nifty show came about. So yeah, that's the genesis of it.
I mean, not only do you embrace that like press the damn button mindset, but I had to snag this while you were talking. Is I have a damn button, and I think the batteries might be low because my daughters are pressing it because they just think it's amazing.
Just I'll do it for you.
There you go.
Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. For those that are listening to the audio, it's a black it's a black base with a red button that says "damn" on it that Joel actually gave me because Joel was actually selling you. What was the ones you were selling on Amazon for a while? Ka-ching. So the ka-ching button. And I said, like, Joel has been an early adopter. I mean, one of the apps that he had went viral early on. It was the fart app, right? It was iFart, right? Is that
that's right.
So, he's written all kinds of books. He really wrote the authority on books on Twitter called Twitter Power and Twitter Power 2. So, like, Joel, you've kind of been there, but I love how you kind of mentioned you pressed the damn button, you started, but you also kind of like that early, like Bitcoin side. But I think something that's not talked about, and I just love to get your take, and I don't think I've even asked you about this part, when, you got in there like just before that bull run, but there was a downtime, and there was like a time where like everyone that was in there, like when you first got in was kind of like the cool kids. You were like, man, you guys are so smart. But then there was like a lull for a while. And I remember this is what was going through my head. I feel bad for Joel. Like I feel bad. He got in so early. And if it would have taken off, like this is my thoughts, right? Like if it would have taken off, Joel was primed and ready because it was, not only was the market down, but like the overall sentiment of like where this whole space was going from like the public side was very much like, they were almost like mocking it, right? I remember like the WeWork, we actually just watched the documentary called We Crashed, which anyone that has Apple TV, you have to go watch it. It's just mesmerizing. But they were talking about it in that documentary was like, WeWork was crashing at the same time, Bitcoin, and they were like mocking like the two of them, calling them like, these are the unicorns that people believed in, that they're all a bunch of idiots, right? So like, how did you survive those times? I mean, you've been an early adopter, but there had to be a time where you're like, do we pause this shit? Like, what was that time like as things kind of were very lulled for a while?
So never even considered pausing it because I understood the technology. Look, I've pioneered and been early adopter to so many things. I'm used to people laughing. Whoa, what are you doing? And I look at those people and think, you have no vision and your tweets will not age well. Even now, there's so many I can think of people laughing at NFTs going, oh, I right-click saved as your NFT. Now I own it. Like, you just don't understand it. And it's not that you're stupid, it's that you're ignorant. And that just means not knowing. And that's fine because those people who say, I'll never buy an NFT, guess what? You will, unless you are in like the 2% of Luddites that never will. Granny may never buy an NFT and you might just stubbornly avoid it, just like you avoid a toll road because you don't want to give them your $1.50. But you'll have them. So during the downtimes is when we saw the opportunists exit, and people like Ty Lopez, who started a podcast when the bull run was kicking and did a few episodes. Then the moment it crashed, cut and run because he's not really there for the technology. He appeared to be there to just capitalize on his listeners and those who want to throw money at him. And we believe in the technology and we wanted to keep talking to people. And we were doing, a lot of shows each week. So there was never a consideration of stopping because we knew it would be back. And we know that the best is yet to come. Dude, we were talking about NFTs. I think we may, unless challenged by somebody else, we may have been the first audio podcast to talk about NFTs the week that CryptoKitties came out in December 2017. We did a whole episode dedicated to it because we thought it was so hilarious that you could buy this cartoon kitty, own it, and they could have sex and make new kitties. And then if you go back to my OpenSea account, it dates back to January 2018. So
Wow.
that's again, the gray hairs tell the truth.
Well, so for our audience, like usually like if we mentioned like a kitten, cats having sex online, that might like polarize. But we interviewed Mac, who was one of the co-founders of those Crypto Kitties, and he gave us the whole landscape on his, it was his idea of doing it, and then he had the genius partner of his that kind of implemented it from like the smart contract and the blockchain. So our audience is familiar with that side. I'm curious, like your son, who I've also been able to meet, is also kind of in this space. He's, the not only in like the gaming side, but kind of been into, everything from like that collectible side as well. When you launched the podcast originally, like NFTs, and then what some of the things your son was going, what were like the things like those early days that were exciting? Was it as much like, hey, we have another use case on the blockchain that's not crypto? Like, what were some of the things? Because the fact your son got in, your son is still doing it and doing some great things in this space. And I know we'll probably have to have him on before the end of the year. But talk to me a little bit about like the early days of that NFT podcast, because I was thinking like, what were you talking about? Because although the Crypto Kitties is fun, like there wasn't like even like the contracts or the 721 that we all are familiar with now wasn't really in existence prior to that. So talk to us a little bit about those early days.
There was some stuff that was happening in blockchain with NFTs, but it wasn't really until we discovered POAP by Patricio Werthaler. It was an app. It was a little known app. He had designed this proof of attendance protocol, Ethereum NFT platform. It's an app you can go download today, and a lot more people are using POAPs. And Travis and I went to the Bitcoin Miami conference in January of 2020, and I said, hey, let's make an NFT commemorating this conference and that we're going to be there. And anybody who comes to our booth will scan their wallet and drop them one of these NFTs. So, maybe 30, 40 people got one of these, first POAPs. And then I started thinking, what if we took this to the next level and became the first proof of listening podcast? So it was probably March of 2020 that we made the first Bad Crypto Podcast NFT. And we said, hey, if you're listening to this episode within 72 hours of the drop, go to this website, put in your name, your email, and your Ethereum wallet address, and we will drop you a commemorative NFT. So we had Peter McCormick on the show. We did one for that show. We did Samson Williams. We did Ron Paul. We did Vitalik. There was a bunch of people. We did these proof of listening. So I think we were the first podcast to do a proof of listening NFT. And then it was in, I want to say, May of 2020 that we discovered the power of the Wax blockchain. And we discovered it through Topps, who was re-releasing their classic Garbage Pail Kids from 1985 with Atom Bomb and all of these others that a lot of kids collected and traded. Only now they were on blockchain, and you could buy a pack of cards, open that pack, and get random NFTs from the collection. And they weren't just static. Some of them were animated. Some of them were sketches, and there was rarities to them. It brought collectibles to a whole new level. We saw that. And we were already familiar with Wax, but we didn't know that they had this packing mechanism, which takes NFTs to a truly collectible level. And that's when I came up with Blockchain Heroes. That would be a set of 50 superheroes in an alternate universe inspired by real world blockchain personalities. And we packaged them up, and we sold 12,000 packs in 20 minutes, made $110,000 on that first sale, and discovered a whole new audience of people that wanted to buy, sell, collect, and trade.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of things I want to pull out of that. First of all, you call it the proof of listening. I don't know sure if I was aware of that. Maybe I was, and I have to give you a little credit because we do something here called proof of podcast, which we call POP. And if you take our keyword, one of our POPs, over to our website and plug it in the first 36 hours, we actually we'll put an overlay on your PFP that you have. And then if you collect 4 in the month, we airdrop you an NFT. And so actually for this episode, for those that are listening, not on the live broadcast, but you have to be listening on the day of the actual recording. The podcast is actually published. But today is actually Pop Word. If you want to become a pop star, is airdrop. So for those that are playing along at home, and we've had hundreds of people playing along each month. So you were already ahead of that on that idea. And it doesn't surprise me, right? Like we understand community amplification, use cases. We also aren't afraid to, try new things and kind of push those limits. And then you also mentioned like kind of like, those early days, a lot of those mechanics are still being implemented today in many different ways. And, like we just minted for our Mint 365 a project called Beatheads yesterday, and it was on crypto.com's marketplace. And when you open it, they unpack the cards, and it kind of does a whole bunch, 360 display, and then it does your reveal of art, right? Compared to, what we do on OpenSea, which just says, pound the refresh metadata button, go hit refresh, go. And so like that, like the opening of cards and like the blockchain heroes concept, you were really kind of looking at that, differently. I'm curious, what was the total number of those that you rolled out?
Well, the first edition, there was 120,000 cards, and there was like 12,000 packs. They were 5-card packs and either 25 or 30 card packs. And we called them hero packs and titan packs. Since then, we've done 3 other releases. We did Blockchain Heroes First Strike, where we introduced villains. And then we did a Stonk Wars mini set featuring Elon Dusk and the Doge Burris, which was 10 heroes and villains. And then most recently, we did a 80s synthwave inspired set called Retro Rebellion, which I don't know if you want to pull up on the screen or not, but you can kind of see the theme here at bcheroes.com of the Retro Rebellion cards. And I can actually give you, play this in the background here while we're talking, and people can kind of see the video of it. And these all came from the brain of Zach. He is a world builder extraordinaire. He came up with all of these characters and their backstories of heroes and villains that live in this blockchain heroes universe, fighting against the villains. And each one of them has story and lore and different variations. And we really have leveled it up. In the beginning, there wasn't a lot of animation, maybe some lighting effects. But now, we've got professional Adobe designers that are doing full cinematics on many of these NFTs. And we actually, for all 40 heroes and villains on this set, we had a composer create an original soundtrack for each character. So if you got a legendary card variation of any of these characters, then you were able to listen to about a 30-second soundtrack that goes with the animated card. It's next level stuff. And we do it all on wax, which means there's no gas fees involved. You buy the pack, you open the pack, you get the cards. And this is why wax is really the biggest undiscovered gem for the Ethereum community, because they're able to do things that Ethereum just is not able to do and is trying to fix with layer 2 solutions that make it so you don't have to pay a ridiculous gas.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar, Wax is another blockchain that, of course, has been enabling as a utility NFTs as well, and we'll put some links there, Joel. I think really cool to check out. I mean, the collection size is unlike majority of collections on Ethereum, maybe other than the Matrix drop that happened last year. And I want to ask you, because I think the fact, I love that your son was involved on the design, and it's very collaborative and even kind of innovating. One of the things that I often heard or hear is that people are like, we live in this must be nice generation or world where we are like, oh, Joel, well, you got in early, must be nice to be Joel, must be nice. But we also assume that because you were early, all of these things made sense. So you probably have 50 Bored Apes, 20 V Friends, couple Crypto Punks. Give people the reality of, even when you're early, it doesn't mean that all of the things that are happening are going to make sense for everyone involved. Because it drives me crazy when people make these assumptions. If I was in the game back then, I would have bought so many Bored Apes that I would be a trillionaire right now.
Yeah, would you have context? Would you have? So we were eyeballs deep in wax. I remember when I saw CryptoPunks for less than an ETH. I'm like, who wants these stupid pixel heads? It's ridiculous. Why would I spend $300 at that time on one of these? Bored Apes came out. I missed it completely. But my Crypto Kitties, I've got a bunch of those. They're worthless. I do have a V-Friend gift goat, which was one of my best. Hold
on. Say that again a little slower, just because for those that don't know, and you minted this, right? Is this correct? I mean,
a gift goat. I minted the gift goat. Both Travis and I, we bit the bullet. We're like, all right, this is 5 ETH. At the time, ETH was about $4,000, so it was
Yep.
$20,000. It was the most expensive NFT by far. But I know Gary. I've known Gary since 2009, and I know Gary is single-mindedly focused on going where he's going and owning the Jets. And I saw the success he was doing. I'm like, he's serious about this. He's going all in. He's training people. I'm going to join him on this. I don't know what it looks like. I'm going to roll the dice and take a risk. And of course, that gift code now, the floor is like 50 ETH, I think. I'm not selling it.
Actually, I think it's 80. I think
What?
it's 80.
Gift code?
Yep, I'm pretty sure I checked it because like the floor has been dipping on VFriends, but the gift goat floor, when I had checked, it was probably a week ago, I was like blown away that the floor had jumped up on that side. And for those that don't know, the gift goat, you get 18 gifts that are sent to you that are kind of personalized. And Gary, like they're limited edition only for those that have that NFT. What were the couple of the gifts that you got?
It is 40. So if you want to snag one, now
it's only 40 ETH, right? 120 grand for all those that have that 40 ETH
120 sitting around. It is the cheapest one, and there's only let's see here, so like maybe 16 to 20 listed, and most of them are in the hundreds. So you don't get 18 gifts. You actually get 36 gifts. And what he does is, I'll show you out here on the mini drop. You get an NFT and a physical gift. So, for example, the first gift we got was a partnership with the guy who did Creature World. And so there's 555 gift goats. And so there is 5 different colors on these goats arrival in Creature World mini drop. I got the purple one. So there's 111 of each of the 5. And then everybody got a physical poster that I've got back there wrapped up in the roll that's signed by the Creature World creator and Gary. So I've got a physical gift that I could sell or keep, and I've got this digital gift. Then he did another partnership with, I can't remember the name of the artist, but there was 5 different gift within the goat. So 111 of each of these, and each one came with a jacket that is a gift goat jacket that has VFriends on it. There's only 555 of this jacket that were ever made. And most recently, he went up into the air in a helicopter with a photographer by the name of
Drift Shoot. We minted him the other day we minted one of his photos for our collection. Huge fan of his. Love his art.
37 photos taken over New York City. And so there's like 15, 17 of each. And you got one randomly. And see, they've got vans on here.
Yep, where my vans go. Yep.
They customize their vans, and we each get a set of vans sent to us. I'm waiting on my vans to arrive still. Those who are in the U.S. got to actually customize theirs with whatever they wanted on them from the selection. I'd get a preset one because I'm in Puerto Rico and considered international, but that's fine. And I will never take those out of the box. I'll look at them, but I'm not going to wear them. Those are collectibles. Now, the gift goat jacket that I got, I'm going to take with me to Minneapolis for VCon because that's that's a flex there at the event. Oh, that's a gift
for
goat.
Sure. That's like the event to flex it, and I kind of cut in on you just because I will say, like, I remember, it was about 11 days, for those that don't remember, like VFriends took 13 days to sell out. It was about 11 days in, and I had messaged you, and I originally was going to mint a VFriend on day one. I had like the ETH moved into my MetaMask, and then I got like cold feet, and I was like, you know what, I would rather get a couple different projects than that one. But then I noticed, like, because I've been bullish on Gary as well. And I remember reaching out to you, and I think the conversation went something to like, well, hey, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go in at like the highest level and really, commit to Gary. And I will admit, I probably was a little bit like, must be nice to be Joel, and I've already been in the crypto game and he can make that leap. But, the context is, that was, the most you had put into an NFT. And it's not like you were just like milking off of like the crypto punks or crypto kitties weren't making you millions of dollars. And so I appreciate the context. I love that you got the gift goat. I actually, one of the people that I was at the event with in Miami, he had his jacket with him, so I got to see the jacket in person. And I can just get you my address to send me the shoes if you want to get someone that will wear them. You know me, that wouldn't be outside my context at all. But I love that you brought that up. And and what do we have here? We have you sitting with Mr. Sly Stallone. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
this might be a face that people would recognize, Mr. Sylvester Stallone at his place in Miami, working with my partner Bill Zenker, who's the founder of the Learning Annex. They used to do these arena events all over the country with celebrities and teachers. We connected with Sly, and we're doing an NFT set with him called Planet Sly. I had to persuade him a little bit, and he finally said yes. I gave him a little left jab there, and he's all right. I'll do NFTs with you, Joel. But we're really excited about this. We're going to mint in May is going to be the day. The website is at planetsly.com, where people can go check out. And basically what you're going to be minting are what we call Sly Guys. And they are 9,997 characters that are wearing, I think, 270 attributes that they've got of different, outfits and weapons and gear inspired by the life of Sylvester Stallone. And so the Discord is popping. We're getting close to 20,000 people in there, and Sly is going to do an AMA in the Discord once we hit that number. And so encourage people to come over there. I'll show you a few of the
and for our listeners that are under the age of like 30, it's Sly Stallone from Rocky. You can Google his name. I know we have a younger audience sometimes with that are, but I mean, I think that's such a cool collaboration. When you first reached out to me and let me know that you were teaming up with him, I thought it plays into nostalgia. It also, Sly Stallone has his own like look, his own vibe, his own energy. So I mean, I can see this on the NFTs you're showing up on the screen. I mean, definitely kind of fits that mold. And I mean, he's got the muscles from like Rambo days, because he was Rambo, for those that aren't familiar with that. But I mean, such a cool collaboration. You said your business partner was connected and you had to like do some of that convincing. What was like the aha for Stallone when you were kind of explaining it that like kind of clicked him over to kind of lean in?
Well, I'm a big fan of deliverables. Sly is really into connecting with his fans. If you check out his Instagram, he shoots, videos from his house and inspires people. He is the most inspirational action hero, right? He is Rocky, he is Rambo, the Expendables, Judge Dredd. He's legendary. And so he continues to take that inspiration to people. And when we told him that, hey, these NFTs, they're not just pictures. These can unlock connection with you and your fans. So, Bill had a great idea, since he's put on events. What if, Sly, people connected 3 Sly Guys and they got to come to a private dinner where you would speak and inspire the audience? He's like, I love it. I think you got to do the voice a little bit. I love it, Adrian. So that's what's going to happen. If you have 3 Sly Guys by the snapshot date, then you're going to get a ticket to this dinner in Miami where he's going to speak. And if you are able to get one of the signature editions, which are going to be one of ones that OpenSea is going to have front and center on launch day, then you're going to be able to have the VIP experience. And he signed 25 times, numbered each one of them. You can see them with and without the signature, because you'll be able to click on and off of it. But they're 25 Goldens that are going to be auctioned off. And if you have one of these, not only do you get to go to the dinner, but you're going to get the VIP experience where you can go meet him, shake his hand, take pictures, tell him whatever you want to tell him, maybe shoot a quick video with them, whatever, whatever he'll participate in that day. And so that's cool. And then I said, hey, what if we could do some other deliverables at 100% sold out? What if certain attributes would unlock certain physical, digital, community-centered, or real-life experiences, and we're not telling people what they are? Nice. So you don't know if the attribute that you've got, if that hat or that item in his right hand or those pants, you don't know if those are going to unlock something or not. And so it's going to be really fun, because we're going to reveal over time. And I expect that we're going to see speculation from the community. I've not seen this done before, and this is what I wanted to bring to the project that hasn't been done. Hey, we don't have to show them the whole roadmap. Let's just tell them that there's going to be surprises here that you don't see coming, and you might sell that NFT and then go, oh man, I missed out on this. I should have held that one. I should have sold this one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I love it. And do we have a mint date, exactly the exact mint
We
date?
do not have an exact mint date. We're looking at mid-May right now, but we know VCon is going on that next week, so we're thinking maybe it'll happen after that. So the price and the mint date not yet set, but go to the Discord, discord.gg/Planet Sly. Follow at Planet Sly NFTs on Twitter, and you'll get all the information there. But get in quick because he's going to do this AMA as soon as we hit 20,000, and we are currently at right now 19,100. So
Wow.
it's going to get triggered here pretty soon.
I love that. I love that. We'll put the link to the Discord in the show notes. Of course, Joel will be messaging me leading up to that, and we will be including it in our collection as well. So we'll keep you kind of abreast on that. And I love, like, I think that's an advantage that you and I have, as we've been early adopters before, and we got to see what worked for us, but really we got to see what worked for a lot of other people that kind of took the rocket ship to the moon, as the kids say, in some cases, and we can learn from that idea, right? I pay homage to JLD, a good friend of yours down there in PR as well, when he did the daily podcast, and I was like, damn, like there was entrepreneur podcasts, but nobody that was willing to commit to a daily show. And when I saw that back in the day, I was like, man, that is such a smart idea. And so for me, when it was like, hey, we're going to get in here, is like tapping into those days of like, okay, what worked before that I wish it was me that did it, that someone else did. And, I even wanted to take it a little bit further. I was like, well, we're not going to do a scripted, interview, and we're going to do these things live, and we're going to have some solo, some interviews. So I love, Joel, that you're kind of tapping into that as kind of like what you can provide as an advantage as well. And we're going to have, Travis, your co-host, we'll have Travis on the show to talk about some of the things he has going on. But, I actually had a as we kind of bring this whole thing together, I actually had more of a crypto question for you. And it ties a little bit into like the Wax blockchain conversation with, Ethereum and the Sly NFTs. Those are on ETH. Is that correct?
Yes, so we're on Ethereum.
Yep. So they'll be on ETH. So, because you mentioned OpenSea, so I was like, so I'm curious, I'm a big believer that the assigned blockchain at the moment for NFTs has only to do with attention, not with the technology, because we can all pretty much agree that like if we were actually doing it on the right blockchain for what the utility is that we should be using, I mean, people would not be launching game enabled NFTs on Ethereum, right? They would not live on those blockchains. And you mentioned Wax being, Wax having a lot of advantages that really Ethereum weren't ever built for. Yet,
Correct.
Ethereum got like that attention and that like amplification. I'm curious, from like the crypto days early, we hear, my dad's in the Sheeb army, and he texts me things about being in the Sheeb army on a regular basis. And we know Doge has their following, but I'm curious, like, in the since you've been into crypto, how have you kind of identified in like the loyalty to like your favorite crypto? And do you see that kind of partially what we kind of see here? And is it going to get to a point where, like, this is my own like outside opinion, I feel like when I talk crypto with people now, they're not like pitching me on the one that they love. They're talking about crypto as a whole. And I think part of NFTs is like, we're going to have to get there. We have to be mature. And, crypto's now, what they've had 7 years to get to the maturity level that they've been at. And we still have, 4+ more years here in this space. What's your take on like kind of like that, crypto, blockchain loyalty and where that kind of falls?
Well, let me add an addendum to what you said. You said Ethereum's big because it has the attention. It was also the first mover, and it's where you have all these cantillionaires, right? These people that got in early. There's so much money in the Ethereum ecosystem, which is why people can drop, $300,000 on a Bored Ape. I mean, who does that?
Right.
Who does that? That's insane. And you compound it with the gas fees, and you get away with the gas fees because you're spending so much on the NFTs. But you can't sell a $1 NFT on Ethereum. Maybe Polygon, which is, ready for prime time, but not, yet got the steam it needs. Solana, but Wax is fast, super fast. I could send you an NFT and you'd have it, but short rate. I click send and boom, it's in your wallet. There's no fee to it, so you could sell a penny NFT, and that's like the marketplaces. There's a lot of activity as far as loyalty goes. We're going to see interoperability on all of these. In fact, Zach's project, Draco Dice, which I hope you'll speak to him about it, is one of the first projects to have cross-chain operability using the NFT Anywhere technology. You can move an NFT from Wax to Binance to Ethereum, and back. And so anybody who wants to use those NFTs in any games that implements his dice, they can move them across chain. Eventually, we're going to see all of those become interoperable. So becoming loyal to a chain over the long term, if you believe in the coin and your investment, that's one thing. But we want to be everywhere. We want our brands and our IP to be able to be usable by whoever. I'm a huge fan of the internet computer, the most decentralized chain of all, the most empowering to the people, ICP. I'm minting NFTs on entrepot.app, which is fantastic. I don't know if you've talked to anybody from ICP yet, but it is one hell of a powerful chain. It's everything blockchain for the people was supposed to be. And I love it. So there's a lot of options. I've minted NFTs on Cardano, on Tezos, on Wax, on EOS, on Ethereum, on Polygon, on Binance, on Solana. I don't care. I just want to play with the pixels, and see what we can do with them.
Yeah, and we're alike on that. We for our collection, we've done 13 of the different blockchains now, and even like it's fun because you get the blockchains and the like kind of the marketplaces, and then you also have today's while we're recording this, we actually did one. It was actually the very first photo ever taken in space. And it's a really cool photo. I have to pull it up I can pull up the name of the actual project, but it was a really cool one that actually one of our listeners clued us in. So it's Axiom _space on Twitter. And so they have a space patch as well as the very first photo that is now an NFT from space. And I'll give them credit, right? You could, I posted it in our community and they have it for $20 and you can pay with PayPal. And it pops up, and I will tell you their system to go from paying with PayPal, getting the email, and then minting the NFT on the blockchain. I believe it was Poly that we end up kind of minting it with. Actually, it wasn't. They're using Blocko as the. I'm trying to think what so Blockto.
I want to buy one. How do I get one? What's the NFT, the public sale?
Yep. So yeah, I'll drop it. I'll drop it for everybody. I'll put it here in the notes as well. And I just think, part of the thing that I love for this show, and I love where we can play, is we can splash around and try everything. And then for our listeners, I'm even seeing some of the live comments. People are like, "Man, I feel so late," or "Man, there's no way I have enough time to do all of those things." The beauty is, well, you can't go back in time, so you can't fix the thing that you're feeling, right? So the beauty is right now, if you're listening to this, you're earlier than the person that listens tomorrow. And then the other part of it is you can almost, continue the journey and let people like us, Joel and I, kind of splash around on the early space, because this might sound like early first mover adoption is like the advantage in everything. But Joel, Comm, and I have some similarities in we became famous and popular on some apps that many of you don't even know. One of them might be called Blab. It might be called Blab. I mean, oh my gosh. And Blab was, for me, Blab was one of the most fun community experiences that I've ever had. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it was Brady Bunch live streaming. There was 4 squares. You could bring people in and out from the comments. Crazy enough, the tech is probably still more innovative than most live streaming tech that is out there today. Joel and I were in there growing our following, building our communities. And then of course, Monkey Garage, the parent company, and Sean and them were like, "Oh no, we were using this for test. We're going to move that over to another space as well." So I see that while we were doing this,
I bought one. I bought an Axiom space patch. I found it. It was $20. It was connected to Stripe, and I went ba-boom. And now I own one of these. I love supporting these, and this is on Polygon, so it's much faster, and they handle the gas because it's so low that you don't have to worry about it on Polygon. But I want to speak to what you said here. If you're in now, you're still early. Okay, the technology adoption curve is a slow process. Early pioneering is usually a few years. That's 1% to 2% of people. Early adoption in technology can take 4, 5 years, and that's where we are now. And that's about 7% to 8% of the people. And then the mass adoption part of the cycle happens where it goes way up and everybody's in on. Everything looks like too late the day you see it, right? Yep. You're not. Here's what I encourage people to do. Look at what you're doing now through the lens of the future. Everybody's got this right now 10x microwave mentality, and it's nowhere worse than in the NFT space. You know, our parents used to invest in a mutual fund and be happy with 8%, you know, a year. Now people are programmed like, oh, if I can't 10x on this project, you know, in 10 days, it's crap. You're not thinking like a rational human being. You're thinking like a child. The way to look at the NFT space is through the lens of the future and look back and go, you know, 10,000 might seem like a lot of pieces for a PFP collection, but what does it look like when there's 100 million people collecting NFTs? How about a billion people collecting NFTs? I believe, and you can mark this down as a prediction, that there are collections now that are not selling out, that are baller, but not selling out, that in the future, some of them are going to be resurrected. A DAO is going to pick them up, just like people are trying to resurrect Blockbuster as a DAO right now. And the value of those is going to increase. I don't know which ones are going to become legendary and which ones aren't. You know, I bet on my own horses here, and I buy art that I like. So at the worst case scenario, I own NFTs that I think are cool. But look at stuff through the lens of the future, not the present.
I love that. I love that. And real quick, I have to give a shout out to Matt Wurst from, he's the CMO over at mint.store. They didn't pay for this. They didn't promote this, but he clued me into the space photo and the mint. And I believe that you can actually bid on the actual photo. So the patch is what we minted, but the bid for the actual photo is available on there as well. And to your point, Joel, like I love that you kind of connected those dots and like starting at the end and coming back. A good friend who's actually gonna be on the podcast very soon, Jason Keith, actually just launched a DAO called Remint DAO. And that's what they're looking at. They're looking at projects that they believe either fell off or maybe the project had all the right momentum, but the founders weren't committed or whatever it may be. And so Jason Keith is rolling that out. So he's gonna be on the podcast as well. You know, and we were, not only were we on a lot of places early, but I mean, I will also say a lot of the places we were on early taught us things that allow us to do what we're doing now. Like for those that don't know, like we're recording this live on live stream using a tool called StreamYard, and it's not a plug because they're not paying me and I'm paying for it. So there's no plug there. But Joel and I have done this so many times that he was popping up into the square in the button to share screen. I was clicking and putting on the screen. There's no production house. There's no one else doing this. It was literally on the fly what Joel and I were able to do. But people look at that and be like, oh my goodness, I don't have that skill set. Well, guess what? We didn't have that skill set either. And we were early adoptions on some things that you might not even have heard of, but allowed us to hone these things in. And so I would even argue if you're getting into a project and it ends up being something that maybe wasn't as valuable that you might have thought it was, what are the things you learned in that whole process? Because I can guarantee they're going to come full circle. So Joel, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, it's about as easy as interviewers go. We've known each other for so long. You were one of the favorite episodes of the podcast. You know, we had Michael Stelzer on, who is a good friend of both of ours. We're also kind of a little circle of people that we kind of share some tips and things with. And you were the closing keynote there of that event. And I actually talked about that event a lot on our show, just kind of talking about like the frame of reference that you put a lot of things in there. Also, your amazing girlfriend, who I am a big fan of as well, Erin, also has her own NFT show. So give us the name of the podcast. Give us your, crypto, the NFT, and then, of course, plug Erin's in there as well. And then we'll get you out of here.
So we've got two shows, the Bad Crypto Podcast, badcryptopodcast.com. The Nifty Show is all about NFTs, theniftyshow.com, and Twitter accounts for both of those, and found on podcast players everywhere you expect podcasts to be found. And then Erin and GenFT, Mint eCell and GenFT are hosting the Crypto Chicks, the cryptochicks.io, and it's by women, about women, for women, women projects, and you should see how many NFTs she's already got in her collection. She is obsessed, and I think that they're really going to kill it because it's such a great niche, and they're both so cute and full of personality that they're going to be able to communicate to women everywhere how exciting NFTs are.
They are, and we'll have Erin on the show for sure. Erin and I go way back. Actually, even before Erin and Joel got to meet, I got to know Erin way back then. And actually, when we were in San Diego, Joel was on like a power walk to the airport, and I met up with Erin and their little pup, and we ended up talking NFTs for the entire time, and we were geeking out, having a great time. So I love what Erin's doing. I love what you and Travis are doing. And and for those that are in the audience, I'll kind of like leave us with this thought, like. It's easy for us to hear things about like, hey, this is what you should do. And we hear things like, people are preaching like we shouldn't think of each other as competition. We should think about ways we can collaborate and lift up. Well, there's people talking about it, and then there's people that are willing to do it. I was interviewed on Joel's podcast. Joel's interviewed on my podcast. We both have podcasts, and this is not a competition game. We need more education. We need more people bringing people into this space. And not only was it a no-brainer that we both were like, hey, when are we going to make this happen? But we've also both like even shared guests like, hey, this guest was great. You should probably have him on. Hey, we should connect the dots. And I just, I'm thankful, Joel, for that, for our friendship, but also like we're backing it up. We're proof here, right? There are some other, people in this space that are looked at as like leaders or pioneers that talk a good game. But if you look at their proof of backing up what they say, they're not willing to collaborate. They're threatened. And it's about them, not about us. And I love that we can approach this space on that rising tide, lifts all boats. We can have some fun. We can try some new things, and really we can learn from each other. So Mr. Joel Comm, thank you so much for joining NFT365. For all our listeners, as you know, podcast is super powered by the ADHD coin at Rally. And today's pop word, if you missed it, because I've had some people ask me to repeat it at the end because something about me talking fast that they can't catch the word. Today's word is airdrop. So you just jump over to NFT365podcast.com/pop. And you put in that word in those first 36 hours and you'll be on your way. We got some really cool things, some gifts, some swag, some offline and online things that we're going to offer to you that are our pop stars. So until tomorrow, my friends, make it a good one. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joel.